Hello viewers! Today I am going to be creating my Fire Emblem series tier list where I rate all the games based on from my favorite to least favorite and which would be all the Fire Emblem games that are released outside of Japan. I have not played any that have not released outside of Japan, so I'm not going to rate those, but I'm going to start. I'm going to go in order from newest Fire Emblem game to oldest of the ones I've played. So let's get started. Right. So, well, first, three houses. Uh, if you didn't see, I reviewed this game. I created a review for this game. So if you have not watched it and are interested, I would watch that. I'm not gonna say too much about Three Houses, but so the game I think is good. There's a lot of good. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over everything again, but some of the good, I would say some of the best things about this game, first off, is the length and the replayability. There's a lot, you could put hundreds of hours into this game. Um, I'm getting somewhat close to finishing my second playthrough with the Blue Lions this time. Um, there's I think there's a lot more differences than there were in the other routes in Fates, so that's good. The music's amazing. There's animated cutscenes which they've never had in a Fire Emblem game before. Um, the characters are good. The Yeah, I do want to add on a couple things that though that I did not think of or forgot to mention in my review, and or I just noticed from playing my second playthrough. The first thing is the character classes are really unbalanced. Like I found that there's like no reason to use really any there's no reason to use lances in this game or axes. Like swords and gauntlets just outclass all the other and bows too. Well, bows are some reason to use, but lances and axes just get outclassed by swords and gauntlets because there's no weapon triangle. So I found there's no reason to use a lance because swords they're lighter, so they take away less of your speed. They have more hit percentage, and like the swordmaster class is just so good. And fighting the war master grappler chain class, they're just so much better just simply because they have better growth rates than all the other classes, like the regular classes, not including the unique classes to the house leaders. But yeah, just took a look at all the class growth rates, and it's not even fair. Like some of them just like the sniper class and the cavalier class, the paladin class, their growth rates absolutely suck. Like if you add up the totals, um, if you take the plus the increased chance the if you take the growth rate totals, like how much of an increase they have in getting certain stat and the decreased chance of getting certain stat, you put them together, and swordmaster and warmaster class, or not warmaster, grappler, those two classes have like a total of plus 50, a 50% total increase between all this. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, if you understand what I'm saying. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, but like they have a much better chance of getting good level ups essentially, because like the grappler I think has a plus 20% chance in getting health, 10% chance in skill, 10% chance in strength, and 10% percent chance in speed, which all those stats are really good, especially the speed and the skill. Skill is so much more important than this game than any other Fire Emblem game. Uh, I found this in this game very rare to, well, not rare, but it's much harder to actually get 100 hit percentage against an enemy, especially on Maniac. Uh, uh, but yeah, that's just one of the examples. Yeah, Sword Masters, that's pretty much the same thing, except they don't have a increased chance of getting skill, but I don't think they have an increased chance of getting strength, but they have plus 20% chance of getting speed. While the sniper and the paladins, they actually have a decreased chance of getting speed, which explains a lot why my Bernie was so freaking slow. When I played through the Golden Deer route. I also explained why my Leones slowed down too. But yeah, like yeah, also in the Wyvern classes, or just the flying classes in general, they are so broken. Like they've always been good, but in this game, because you can just you can get off your flyer, you can avoid the drawback of arrows doing a lot of damage against you. And there's no downside to it really, because you can still use your movement and then afterwards just get off, and you can actually go onto your flying unit before even without even moving. So you could just go back into your flying unit and then use all. So you fly somewhere, you get off, so you don't. So you get to attack and not have any downside. And on the enemy's turn, they won't also they any archers won't get bonus damage against you. Your next turn, you go back onto your flyer and you use all that movement and fly again, and you just avoid ever taking extra damage from arrows. It's so dumb. Like, being able to fly has always been an upside, like a huge upside between the mobility and especially in this game because they have Canto back, the ability to move after you attack. I mean, that combined with the movement and just being able to go in areas that your opponents can't makes them so good. But also being able to avoid their weakness makes them broken. Like their stat growth rates aren't amazing, but they're not terrible either. But yeah, uh, yeah, we talked way too long on that. What was the other thing? There was something else. Yeah, I can't remember. I knew there was something else. There's something else that I thought of. I just can't remember what it was. But yeah, just there's a lot of downsides with this game, and which I would not which is why I wouldn't put it above good. Like for example, like for some like the maps, there weren't any interesting maps. Just the gameplay is unbalanced, and there aren't any new interesting mechanics in my personal opinion. Uh, and the biggest thing is just how the battle outcome is not, and level ups are not chance based. The level ups are fixed. Uh, the battle outcome is based on how you perform your turn. If you perform your turn the exact same way or similar, uh, then it will be the same. This game's even more strict than that than with other Fire Emblem games where, and the older ones on the Game Boy Advance, you didn't have to do much to change the outcome. But in this one, in Three Houses, you have to do so much to change the outcome. It's really annoying. Yeah, for that reason alone, I'm actually glad that they have uh the back in time feature, whatever it's called, the ability to go back in time, because that just not having the battle outcome having the battle outcome be fixed has screwed me over so many times, because there's been so many times where I've a character's died because they get hit by a like a 20 to 30% chance hit from an attack or a gambit. Like sometimes multiple times within a turn, or multiple characters are getting hit. It's really dumb. Like I just if you had the feeling that it's not chance based, you keep getting hit by these low chances of getting hit. If you're wondering why, that's why. It's not chance based. So that's yeah, that alone is if anything else, that's the only reason. I mean, if anything else, that is why I will not put this game higher than good because that just it takes so much of the fun out of it. It's any good strategy, it doesn't matter because it's not chance based, it's fixed. So, anyway, on to the next game, Fire Emblem Warriors. Uh, so I have mixed feelings about this one. On the one hand, so this is a type of game that I've actually wanted for a long time. So this game in a way, this was a big dream come true. Aside from the fact that it's only Fire Emblem it's only Shadow Dragon, Awakening, and Fates characters, which I know for a lot of people was a huge downer. I know it was for me. Um, but I am glad at least they have Linen, so they have a yeah, so that was good. That made me happy. But yeah, like this is something that I dreamed about like years ago when I was a kid. Just having an action fighting Fire Emblem game. I was like, how cool would that be to be able to do that, to have that? N- Back then, like it was like, there's no way this is gonna happen because back then Fire Emblem was not well known at all. It was I still can't get over. I'll talk about that later. But yeah, so yeah, it was refreshing. It was also yeah, just there's the support conversations are great. It's just seeing how the characters interact with others from other series and just all the little comments from like the team attacks and stuff. I enjoyed that more than anything else about this game. Just how the characters react with each other, which uh, and the game is fun too, but it does get old after a while, so it's not a game that I can play. It's not a game you can play just regularly. I think it's something you pick up and play for a bit, put it down, and come back later. So I think I'm gonna put Fire Emblem Warriors at good, right behind Three Houses. And I might change some of this later on. We'll see. I might add or remove a tier. It all depends. It's hard to know. Like I know in a general area where most of these games are going to be because I've thought about this before, but we'll see. I mean, my opinion may have changed. I haven't thought too much about the more recent Farm games where they're placed. Okay, so Shadows of Valentia, the Gaiden remake. That one, that one I would also place in good. I think I've actually put that behind Warriors. So Gaiden was also refreshing after having played Awakening and Fates. Going back to a more typical Fire Emblem game was nice. It also had some different features, like the whole dungeon exploring mechanic, dungeon thing. I mean, they had something similar, but it's not this from Sacred Stones, but not the same because you're not walking around in a dungeon. But that was nice. Yeah. The story I felt was a little short, and there weren't that many characters that I got attached to. So, I mean, the story was good, but it felt way too short. And I do like the whole stamina thing because I like the stamina idea because you can't just rely on one character just going out there and taking them all out. Just so you have to think more, which I like that a lot. So I think that might be the thing actually that I like most about the game. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this game. I mean, it's fine. It was good, but I don't think it's amazing. All right, next is Fire Emblem Heroes. So I actually did play this one. I actually played it a lot longer than I was expecting to, which was a surprise because I am not a mobile person. I've always had the mind that mobile games are just inferior to video games because I mean they're usually free. There's a reason why they're free because they're low budget, which means they're just not as good. Higher budget usually means good unless they do a poor job in the game. Uh, yeah, it's just a downgraded Fire Emblem game. I wouldn't say I dislike it. I would say I'm indifferent about it. Like I am a sucker for gotcha system. Like I'm a sucker for that thing, for games where you forget the gotcha system where you're trying to get characters and yeah, but didn't pay a thing for that, which was nice. So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say about that about Heroes. Yeah, really the only thing I like about that is the gotcha system, really. So let's see. Next one. Okay, so yeah, so Fire Emblem Fates. I would like to rate them. I'm not sure. I would. This one's hard to rate because like you could treat all three routes as separate games because you can get them in separate cartridges. Because yeah, they come in separate cartridges. They come separately, unless you got the limited edition. So you could treat them, but I feel like they're all the same. I kind of want to rate them all together as one game because I mean they kind of are. But like, yeah, just I'm not sure how to rate these. I guess yeah, because I mean if I'm gonna rate three houses all together as one, I feel like it's only fair to put all these three together. But at the same time, no, I'll rate them separately. Actually, yeah. So like, when I put all three games together, I would rate. Yeah, it would be different based on if I were to rate them all. The placement would be different based on if I were to rate them all together or rate them separately. Like, yeah, okay. I think this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rate them all together as a one game, but then I'll have them in place. Like I'll have them in order from from favorite to least favorite. So Fates, I have mixed feelings about this one too. So I do I did like the story. I do like some of the characters and the character designs. I do did appreciate that they tried out some new things like removing the weapon durability. Um, that made it refreshing, and it's been so long since I played this game. It's just hard to remember everything that they did that was new. And I did like the it was the first one to have different routes to play through. However, each of those routes didn't, aside from having different characters in Birthright and Conquest, and like having different dialogue with different characters, like story wise, it felt very similar. And similar things happen just differently. It's just slightly differently. Like, it wasn't that much of a difference. The biggest difference between them was the chap the actual chapters, like the maps. Well, not the maps, but yeah, some of the maps. But yeah, so I'm going to put Fates in good, and I'm going to put Birthright. Oh no, well, for the one my favorite of the three is Conquest. Now, if I were rating the game separately, I would put Conquest in great. I absolutely love Conquest for the sole reason of the maps, like all the unique mechanics that they have in Conquest, which are lacking in the other two. Some of them are annoying, but oh my goodness, those chapters were so hard, and I loved it and hate it at the same time because oh my goodness, those are some of the hardest chapters I ever played in a Fire Emblem game in a long time. But yeah, like Conquest was actually hard, like it said it was. So yeah, for a game, yeah, the others, because considering all the mechanics they had in the game to make the game easier, I mean, for it to be hard, it was impressive, to say the least. Um, so yeah, after that would be Birthright, and then Revelation, which was just so meh. It was there weren't any unique maps, or I mean, there wasn't anything like there wasn't anything unique about it. You had all the characters out, and it was the happiest ending. But aside from that, it's like, it's kind of meh. It's like nothing new, nothing. Yeah, it was. There was nothing to keep me excited. So yeah, that's where I have. That's good. Okay, I ended up spending a lot more time on it than I thought, and then so ended up spending a lot more time on Fates than I expected. But and now we're on to Awakening. Oh boy, and I know I'm gonna get some backlash on this from some fans, but I actually dislike Awakening a lot. I actually dislike Awakening. So, now, my reasoning for disliking Awakening, first and foremost, it's the game that changed the rescue to the pair up, which in Awakening is so busted. It's so busted. There's no reason ever to not pair up, and it's just there's no downside to it. It just makes the characters so overpowered. It's the rescue the rescue mechanic I miss so much. Like it would actually made sense because for those who have not played any of the games before Awakening, the rescue mechanic, you picked up one of your allies so they couldn't be attacked. So imagine like it's like pair up except with any upsides, but your character loses skill and speed. I think it's by half. It makes sense because you're carrying a character, so you're slowed down and it's harder to hit because you're focusing on defending your ally. You're like carrying them, you know. But I mean, you shouldn't get an upside for essentially rescuing someone. Like, yeah, sure, they don't get to attack. You have one less attacker, but I mean, the upsides you get was just dumb in Awakening with the stat boosts and having them be. I think they could also attack back. Yeah, they could attack too. The person that's paired up with you, they could attack as well, and they could also defend your character to keep them from dying. It was just so busted. It's just all the different things they did to make the game just so unbalanced. Like being able to buy Nosferatu, and Nosferatu in that game was still was broken. It was still they fixed that in Fates by only healing half the damage you deal instead of all the damage you deal. But just Tharja is just broken. Oh my goodness! You got at a certain point, like Tharja was unkillable unless the enemy got a critical on her. yeah, just being able to buy Nosferatu in that game was a mistake. It's just and just the story was just the story wasn't that. I didn't like it at all. Just I do not like the whole like undead theme, and none of the villains were memorable. Like you didn't get there was like three different villains I think, and like two of them you hardly see them at all. Just the music, and this is the only part in the game I think where there wasn't any music that I really liked that really struck me. Like there's a couple of ones that was like, okay, it's okay, I like it, but it's like it's fine. It's just yeah, it's just there's a lot of things I dislike about a game, and there's just not a whole lot in there. There's not thing there's not really a lot that I like about the game. However, there are a couple things that I do like, and those couple things are really big ones. Like the characters, although they're not my favorite. I would probably place the characters in this game as my either third or fourth favorite cast. However, I gotta admit, I think the character cast, aside from the villains in this game, are the best in the series. The characters in this game are so good. They're so unique. They're different. The the character design's really good. Like they really went the designers, the characters, the people who designed the characters really did a great job in Awakening. Oh my goodness, like you could tell a lot of love was put into this game. Like just and I mean, seeing as how this was going to be the last farm game, if it didn't sell well, I mean, I can see why. I mean, just all the love that they put in the game, like yeah, just the upgraded the different character designs, like all the uh yeah, the music. I think this is the first, not the music. I mean, although I didn't like the music, it was definitely a higher. Um, it sounded better. Like it was a higher budget, I want to say. Um, they also hired a lot of big voice actors for this game, which they've never had before. Like they never had like voices for from characters aside from the few clips in the game, which was really nice. Which enjoyed that a lot. So those two go in hand in hand. So I like the voices, the characters, and the characters themselves. And yeah, there's so many. If you look at the if at the cast, like all the actors that voice in this game, if you recognize voice actor names, you just look at the list, and there's just tons and tons and tons of them. Like I think let's see, Stephanie Shea, she's one of my favorites. She was in there. I think Todd Habercorn was in there. Uh, oh, gosh. Oh, why am I blanking on his name? Voice actor for Sasuke Uchiha and many others. Yuri Lowenthal. Yeah, Yuri Lowenthal was in there. He voiced in there. Liam O'Brien, he voices Gaara from Naruto and like uh, Jushiro from Bleach. Many others. But those are the first two that come off the top of my head because those are the first couple roles that I saw they did. But yeah, there's just lots and lots of big time voice actors in here. They did something really cool that I never noticed until someone pointed out in a YouTube channel that I follow. Uh, so this is if you haven't played Awakening, this will be a bit of a spoiler. So, but so they have in the game, so in the game that you can get your characters can get married, and when they do, after a certain time point, you get paralogs for each. So certain characters have paralogs for their children, which they get. So they have for their children, and the birth you can see the birthdays of all the characters in the game. So the birthdays for all the children are all Fire Emblem are all date release dates for the Fire Emblem games, which I never noticed. As soon as I heard that, I was like, "Wait, really?" And I took a look, and yeah, sure enough, every single one of those children, hey, their birthday is the release date for one of the Fire Emblem games. And I think there's a child for every single Fire Emblem game. The exact same. There's at the time. It's like that is really cool. Like that's a cool thing that they did. That's just one of the things that one of the ways that they really put their love into this game. Like they really tried to go all out in this game. Because in case this was the last one, which thank goodness it wasn't. I mean, as much as I dislike the game, I can't. I'm still happy for it, just because like if it weren't for what it was, if it wasn't for what it was, then we might not have Fire Emblem. It might not be around today. Which can I just acknowledge? Just I don't know how if you realize just how amazing it is that how a series went from dying to being one of their Nintendo's biggest IPs. Like they had was a couple years ago. They had a Fire Emblem Direct, and they had three different games that they announced in the same Direct. Like this is crazy. It was only a few years ago that like wait, Awakening was 2013, I think. Yeah, and this was a couple years ago, I think. Maybe three. They had this. Let's see, wait, when did Fire Emblem Warriors come out? That came out 2000. Oh, was that 18? I believe it was 18. Yeah, I believe it was 2018 that they had the Fire Emblem Direct. But 5 years later, a game goes from dying, possibly being on their last game, to being this huge IP. Like that's unheard of. That's not normal. It still blows my mind. Where I don't. Oh man, it's still. This is crazy. It's crazy. But I'm so happy, like for all the series to happen to Fire Emblem, which has been one of my favorites for so long. Oh man, yeah. Xenoblade Chronicles series has had a similar experience, but that's another story. But yeah, yeah, I can't. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, if it weren't for, I think probably if it weren't for the marrying system or the marrying feature or the uh maybe even the anime art style, it might not. I don't think it would have sold nearly as well. So who knows what it is? I don't know what it is that made so many people want to buy this game. Like, yeah, it crushed the record. Like, I think Fire Emblem Awakening sold more than any other Fire Emblem game within the first week. It was crazy. I don't know what it was about this game. If it was maybe because the it was going to plan to be the last one that people wanted to try the game out while the series was still around. I don't know, but I'm glad that it's still around. I mean, I can't imagine if it weren't for this game selling well. If this was the last one, there would have been no. My dream wouldn't have come true with Fire Emblem Warriors. I wouldn't have. We wouldn't have gotten three houses where we got to see one of my new favorite characters. Spoiler alert. uh, yeah, it's just yeah, just yeah. As much as I dislike this game, I can't. Yeah, I can't hate it. Like this game did save the series. So if any of you bought if any of you were one of those people to buy, if any of you bought Awakening back then, like when it was new, just big thank you from my heart for buying the game, like, helping keep the series alive. Like I can't imagine. That would have been so sad if Fire Emblem went down like that. It would have been went down like. But yeah, I talked about this game way too long. Nah, you can't talk about too long about this game. Awakenings. I mean, I would argue. Yeah, Awakenings. I think like one of that game is probably the biggest game in the series, just because that's when the huge, big turning point came. But yeah, Awakening is something else, guys. I'll, I'll never. I don't think I'll ever get over how that game just completely turned the series around. Just a full 180. Okay. On to the next game. A game that I actually dislike more than Awakening, Shadow Dragon, the remake of the first Fire Emblem game. I have nothing good to say about this game. Uh, there's no support conversations. After you get the character, you never hear any dialogue from them again, with the exception of I think one or two characters. So the story's lacking. The characters are lacking big time. Um, and this is a personal thing, but sword masters don't get a bonus in critical. They they have a lot of health, which is weird. Um, yeah, I just don't have anything good to say about this game. Yeah, like I think the only Fire Emblem game that I did not enjoy at all. I'm surprised I went through the game twice. Actually, now I think about it, I think I did. Although I don't think I actually ended up finishing it my second playthrough. I got on the final boss and didn't finish it. Just disliked it that much. But liked it enough to play it second. I don't even remember why I played it second time. But all right. Oh boy, Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Okay. Now I think I might need to remove a tier because I don't know. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. In love. Love, love, love. This was the second Fire Emblem game that I ever played. It is still one of my favorites. I absolutely love this game. Uh, it just the soundtrack. First of all, the soundtrack for this game is absolutely amazing. It is has been and probably still is my favorite in this series. Like the Fire Emblem Three Houses soundtrack comes close. Like I think Fire Emblem Three Houses might be the second favorite, my new second favorite soundtrack. But the music in Radiant Dawn is just so gorgeous, and for a Wii game, the graphics look really good in this game. Like if you if you played a Wii, you'll know what I'm talking about. Like just playing, you can see a clear difference in quality. At least, unless I'm just blind. But it's to me, it seemed very, very. It looked a lot better than other Wii games. Just and this was also the first Fire Emblem game with the victory animations, which by in this game are really some. They actually have some really cool ones, unlike the recent Fire Emblem games. Um, the characters I love. I love this Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Has my favorite character cast. The story's good. The bosses are memorable. Some for some because I absolutely despise and hate. Uh, there's also the shove mechanic in this game, which they have in Three Houses, but you can shove enemies in. Unlike in Three Houses, you can shove enemies in this game, which I had a lot of fun with against a certain boss, which I despise. Yeah, this was also the first Fire Emblem game to have more than two classes. Uh, yeah, it's just the only downside for me for this game is there's no real support conversations. Yeah, which kind of makes me want to put in great just because not having support conversations is a big downside for me. Support conversations is the thing that I like the most about the Fire Emblem series. I don't know. Like I think it's on the very cusp of the love category. And great. It's I don't know. But that's where I'm going to put it. And I don't want to talk too much about this because the next game, which is the came before Rain of Dawn, is Path of Radiance. This is my favorite Fire Emblem game in the series, without a doubt. It's the first one I ever played, and it's still my favorite. And at this point, I am convinced there will never be a game that I enjoy as much as this one ever again. And not just because it was the first one, but I played, oh my gosh, I've lost track of how many times I've played through Path of Radiance and Rain of Dawn. I've played through Path of Radiance at least 20 times. And Rain of Dawn I've played through 17 times. And yeah, no other Fire Emblem game comes anywhere close to that. The closest to that is, I think, uh, actually, I don't remember. I don't know, I think the closest is 4. But yeah, just the same. The music, although I don't not as good as Rain of Dawn, is still really good. The characters are memorable. I love the characters. Oh, and the Black Knight. Oh, the Black Knight. Oh, I love the character so much. He's easily the most memorable villain for me. Just the whole thing with the Black Knight and the yeah, just the whole thing with the Black Knight and Ike is just I love it. And the fight with the Black Knight and Ike is one of my favorite fights, if not my favorite fight in the Fire Emblem series. I love it so much. And oh my goodness, if you ever it is a pain in the butt to win. I remember the first time fighting against the Black Knight, it was something else. Now, granted, it was easier after the first playthrough, like with most games, since doing, I knew it was doing better. Also, I absolutely sucked at this game. Oh my goodness, and I was an absolute moron for letting my characters die, and I'd lose all my character. I lost. If you play this game, you'll recognize the names. I've lost Oscar and Boyd and Rise within the first couple chapters. And I was in hard mode too. By the end of the game, I had only, aside from the characters who can't die, no, I think I had only had characters that couldn't die, except for a couple. I think at the end of the game, I had like 5 characters left. It was terrible. After that, I never let a character die again. I'd always restart. Uh, yeah, the maps were memorable. Like, oh, the characters, the supports, just yeah, Path of Radiance will always have a special place in my heart because it's the first Fire Emblem game that I ever played. And actually, there's an interesting funny story about that. So as most of you, as some of you probably know, I'm a huge Smash Brothers fan. It's been my favorite series since the first game. Although I guess you couldn't really call it a series if there's only one game out, but that's de- that's debatable. But yeah, so in Melee, so my main in Melee was Marth. I liked Marth just because he was fast. I liked fast characters and like he had a sword. So yeah, so I wanted to learn more about his character, and so I looked for Fire Emblem games, and I saw Path of Radiance, and I thought it was Marth. So I bought the game thinking I was going to get to play Marth, and then you got to the cutscene where he his sister calls him Ike. It's like, wait, Ike? It's like, wait, this isn't Marth? Who's this Ike? I was so disappointed. I was like, no, I wanted to. Oh, I was disappointed then, but by the end of the game, I I enjoyed the game so much, and Ike. became one of my favorite characters. At that time, he was my favorite Fire Emblem character. I mean, it was only one game, but like he was my favorite character in the game at that time. But yeah, it's just funny. I don't know. I think that kind of strikes me funny. But yeah, just yeah. The downside I would say about Path of Rains, well, a couple of them you could call a downside. Like sometimes the animations can be a little wonky, where the dodge animation is late. It doesn't happen often, but it is kind of funny to see. It does look funny. At least I think so. And the other one is getting all the supports is a pain in the butt. Like that's one thing I appreciate about the Fire Emblem games since Awakening is they keep making supports easier and easier to get. Like it's a lot easier to get all of them, which it's not. Yeah, which is nice. It's not as vital. It's not as needed now because people upload all the support conversations onto YouTube. But then again, that would if it weren't for that, it would have been made harder for them to get. So it would have taken a lot longer to see them all on YouTube anyway. So, but yeah, kudos to those who spend all that time getting all the supports so quickly. Like, so people can look at them all without having to play through the game a gazillion times. Yeah, the amount of times. Yeah, I never even got all the supports for Path Radiance. I got close. I got all but one. All but one. And yeah, just yeah, playing through that game 20 times on top of my siblings who also played. A few of my siblings, or most of a lot of my siblings played Path Radiance multiple times, and between all of us, we still didn't get all the supports. We tried to get all the supports. We got close, but yeah, we didn't get that last one, which I believe, if I remember correctly, it was Lucina and not not Lucina, Lucia. Getting names mixed up. Lucia and uh oh jeez, Janeth. I believe that's the last one. The only one we didn't get. But yeah, I love this game. Like, yeah, I better move on. I could. That game will always have a special place in my heart. All right, Sacred Stones. I'm indifferent about this one. I I know a lot of people like that. I think that a lot of people that like this game like it for the Tower of Olney. I personally do not like the Tower of Olney. I found it was always the same. It just was repetitive, and doing farming there just made the game easy. Like, there weren't that many characters that stood out to me. Like, the story was decent. I mean, the chapters were fun, and I do like how you get to a point where um choose a side between there's two protagonists if you haven't played this game, which are who are siblings, and at a certain point you choose to go with the brother or the sister, and the chapters are actually different based on which route you choose at that point, up to a certain point. Uh, which yeah, which was nice. That was nice, but yeah, after playing through both, I think I ended up going with Erica, the sister, more often. I liked Erica a lot more than Ephraim. Um, yeah, the music was good, although it's I mean the theme is good. I mean the music didn't sound good because it was like 8-bit music, or not 8-bit, but like it was on a Game Boy Advance. Like Game Boy Advance music was not amazing. Like the music wasn't amazing at that. Like I don't know how like the tunes were good, but the sound was not good. Is what I'm trying to say. All right. Okay, the last one. The very last one we got to is the Blazing Sword, which I would put under great. This is, I believe, the farm game I played the third most. I believe I played it 4 times, maybe 5. But yeah, I love the characters in this game. The villains in this game are memorable. Some of them, like Jafar, is one of my favorite villains. Although it's debatable whether you call him a villain or not. But yeah, it has Lynn in it. Lynn is one of my favorites. Uh, yeah, 3 protagonists, which is cool. I don't know if they've ever done that before, but Hector, which I love Hector. Like he is definitely my favorite axe user in the Fire Emblem series. Just Hector's so cool. I love Hector. Uh, yeah, the story is really good. The story's really good. Uh, the music's good. The tunes. Um, oh, also, it has my one of my favorite, if not probably my favorite glitch in any game. So I'll explain this for people who have not played the game, or maybe you've played and you don't know about this glitch. Uh, in this game, there is a unique item, a mine. They're mines, which I think you can get up to 4 within the game. You can't buy them. You can only get them from enemies or treasure chests. I don't even remember if you get them from treasure chests. You might get them all from enemies. I can't remember. You might be able to find one on the ground, but it does what you would expect it to do. So you lay a mine on a space next to the character, and whenever a unit moves onto this space, they take 10 damage. It also stops them in their track. So it's been a long time since I've done this, so I might not be remembering exactly how you do it. Um, so whenever I believe you can reset the Game Boy Advance by holding the select button or the start button or maybe both of them. I can't remember. I can't remember if you can do that or if you have to turn the system off. But whenever an enemy goes onto the mine, there's a blast animation before the damage is dealt. So when it's doing the blast, right, as soon as it does the blast, I can't remember, you reset it or turn it off, and then you turn it back on. Well, it's either resetting it or turn it off and turn it back on. I can't remember if I feel like you can reset the Game Boy Advance by pressing the start and select button, but I could be remembering wrong. It's been so long since I played on the Game Boy Advance. But you do that, and whenever you turn off this, yeah, whenever you leave the game, like unlike in other Fire Emblem games, at least after that, whenever if you're whenever you restart the game up again and go back in, it starts off where you last were. So there's no so yeah, you go back in. It redoes the whole thing where the enemy walks over to the landmine. It does the animation. However, at that point, the game gives you control of all the enemy units, so you can control the the whole turn. You can do literally whatever you want. You get to move the enemy units. You can have them attack. You can have them do nothing. You can have them drop their items. You can have them trade their items with other enemies. It's so fun. There's one chapter that I always save one for. It's a chapter with the character you can get, and the boss is carrying, I believe, a brave sword, and it's not a weapon that you get by defeating them. So what I would do is I would use the mine after the character showed up. Uh, I let's see. Yeah, I have to. reposition. I'd made sure that my units were close enough to the boss so that the character that I get could move over to the boss and take his weapon, so that when I got the character, I would have an extra brave sword. So that was a one tactic that I used. Because you couldn't buy brave weapons back then, and brave weapons were so good prior to um, Fates. They were broken, to be honest. Um, yeah, I had so much fun with that mind glitch. It was just so much fun. I think I can't remember. No, you couldn't have the enemies attack each other. Yeah, just whenever you use that, you just trade whatever away weapons to. Yeah, normally you just make them all drop their weapons and then call it a day. Just wail at them. I mean, it's really a cheat, but it was still fun to do. You can only do a limited number of times. But yeah, and the game hard mode is actually hard on that game. Especially there's three different routes you can take, which actually I forgot. Yeah. So there's three different routes. You can go with the three different characters. I mean, they eventually lead up to the same point. It's only different to a certain point. But like with Hector's, when you go with Hector on hard mode, there's a certain chapter near the end of the game that's just so bloody hard. Oh my goodness, it took me ages to beat that chapter. It's just mage galore. It is so hard. I think that's the same chapter that I with the boss with the brave sword that I would steal, essentially. Uh, yeah, the character's great. The supports are so good, like most Fire Emblem games, but I liked a lot of them in this one. This I think I would say the Blazing Sword has overall one of my favorite like support conversations, just as a whole, like all of them together. Like support conversation wise, I think my favorites either the Blazing Sword. It's hard to I don't know. It's hard to rate this because it's I can't. There's so many. There's too many supports to remember. That's I can't. It's out of it's got to. I don't know. It could either honestly be Blazing Sword, Path of Radiance, Three Houses, or Awakening. It could be any of those four. Oh, which by the way, I forgot to mention Awakening has really good support conversations. So that's another plus about that game. But yeah, it's one of those four for sure. But that's a lot of them. But let's see what else. Yeah, the problem with this game is like all the other handheld games, except for maybe Awakening and Fates, um, or Fates. Uh, the level ups and battle outcome are fixed; they're not random. So the only ones where that is not the case, at least in the ones that came outside Japan, are Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, and I no Shadows of Valencia did was like that too. It was fixed. Um, Or was one either Fates or Awakening that wasn't fixed? I want to say it was Awakening that wasn't fixed. So that would be another plus actually about Awakening. So you know what? I think I'm gonna actually move Awakening up to Indifferent. I'm gonna put it ahead of Heroes because there's actually some really good things about that game. There's some more good things about that game that I thought that I didn't even think about. Yeah, just being one of the few that doesn't have um fixed level ups and battle outcomes is a huge plus. So yeah, I can't have it in dislike just because of that. Uh, but back to Blazing Sword. I'm trying to let's see. music. Battles. So maps. Man, it's so hard to remember. Like I can't remember. I don't remember that many of the maps. Like there's some that come to mind. I don't think there I don't think there are any if or at least not that many like gimmicks. But the game is great. But there are a couple of downsides to the game. I mean, only one real downside, which I mentioned. The other one is just because it's on a Game Boy Advance. It doesn't look pretty. So, but that's not a huge that's not a huge negative for me. I mean, I don't care too much about that. I mean, it's nice if it looks pretty, but it's not a necessity for me. It's not gonna make me not enjoy the game. So, yeah, that's all of the Fire Emblem games that I've played. So, I ended up with a lot of them good, which I was expecting. Well, I guess this is one game, so we got four games good. Um, let's take a look. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to put Awakening ahead of at the top of Indifferent. I'm going to put it ahead of Secret Snows. Yeah, yeah. Wasn't playing on that. I wasn't thinking that initially, but thinking about it more, yeah, I think I'd move it up there. Let's see. Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah, I think this is good. So yeah, so first we got Path of Radiance, and then Radiant Dawn, the Blazing Sword, Conquest, Birthright, Revelation, Three Houses, Warriors, Shadows of Valentia, Awakening, the Sacred Stones, Heroes, and Shadow Dragon. So I hope that you enjoyed watching me create this tier list. Let me know what your favorite. Please let me know in the comments what your favorite Fire games are, how you would rate them. Let me know which ones you've played, and feel free to share your opinions. This All opinions are welcome. This is just my personal opinions on which ones I like, not necessarily which ones I think are the best. Um, yeah, I would love to hear your opinions and what you think of my tier list. Like, if you do you agree with some of these or do you disagree? I mean, I'm sure that someone's going to disagree at the very least with Awakening and probably Three Houses, but um, that is fine. You're more than welcome to disagree. But thank you for watching, and I hope you have a smashing day.